Hey book girlies, I'm Sarah.
Hey gamer guys, it's Ian.
And you're listening to a pot of sass and sarcasm. So I feel really bad because, we were all excited a couple weeks ago about yeah, we're getting back into the groove of things. We'll be recording weekly. We'll be producing episodes weekly. And that didn't really happen. I think it's been almost another month.
Yeah, I think so.
We're really sorry. We really are. We are trying to get better at it. But man, has it been busy these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, just a bit.
So in the last couple of weeks, have you played any games?
I've played a little bit more Oblivion.
Of course you have.
I figured I'd tell you about one of the major quest lines I just finished.
Okay.
I think last time I was telling you I was playing a Gavrax character.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going all in on magic. And there's a quest line called the Mages Guild quest line.
I, for a very, very brief moment, thought you were going to say, well, there is actually a quest line called Dreadlord Gavrax or something like that.
Yeah, there isn't.
I was like, what?
So how you start the Mages Guild questline is, in every major city there is a Mages Guild building, and you just walk in and talk to the leader of that building and be like, hey, I want to join the Mages Guild. And they're like, all right, here's a key to every Mages Guild building in the entire country, and you're an associate now. If you want to go to the Mages College, you have to get a recommendation from every local chapter of the Mages Guild. So you have to travel to every city and do some menial task that they ask you to do. Most of them are just kind of bogus, like go find this person, they're out doing something. And some other ones are kind of more malicious.
Ooh, malicious.
Yeah. For example, one of them, they have you retrieve a ring that was dropped in a well. But the problem with the ring is it's been enchanted and it's very heavy and underwater.
Oh, I was thinking it was going to be enchanted and it makes a princess look hot when she's actually really plain.
No, unfortunately.
It's not actually enchanted. It's just made out of tungsten or something. Okay, but anyways, so enchanted, very heavy.
Enchanted, very heavy. And when you go around talking to the other people in this Mages Guild chapter, in this building, they go, oh, he just tasked someone else to do that same thing, and we haven't seen him in a while. I'm worried about him. Here, let me teach you a spell. And the spell they teach you is water breathing and a very slight feather, which is make you able to carry a little bit more.
Okay.
And while you're in there, you do find a body floating on top of the well, and you do find the ring as well. When you finally retrieve it and go back inside, they say, hey, the guy that gave you that quest isn't here. He kind of ran off. Go look in his room for any evidence to see if he wrote you your recommendation letter before he ran away.
How rude. Talk about running away from your responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. So you go into his room and you search his drawers. His drawers.
I know you mean a dresser drawer or something like that, but there is a part of me, because you know how some people call underwear drawers. You just search through his underwear.
And you find in those underwear drawers some black soul gems. And what that means is that this guy is a necromancer.
Oh.
And the College of Mages has outlawed necromancy relatively recently, and it's not sitting well with some people.
So he sent you on that quest to actually die like the other guy so that he could practice raising you back from the dead, because he's a necromancer.
I'm not sure the reason why. I think he just doesn't like you.
Or anybody. It sounds like. Anybody who asks him for a favor, he's like, fuck you, go die in a well.
Fuck you, go die in a well. Good luck. The ring is heavy. You can't swim back up. And that kind of introduces the idea that maybe there's something going on within the Mages Guild. Because you've been going around, you're like, oh, there's not much going on in a lot of these places. They're making me go and find team members or go gather some materials and be like, hey, what's up? Another one, they send you out to find a rogue mage who's been robbing caravans, merchants, and you work with that chapter of the Mages Guild to catch them. And then once you finally got all your recommendations, you're finally allowed into the college.
Yay!
Now you get college level quests. You're like, oh, I see you've gotten recommendations from everywhere. Now you know the truth. You see the good and the bad that we have to offer. But one of the drawing factors of trying to get into the college is it gives you access to create your own spells and enchantments.
Right, which is something that you said that you were more interested in.
Mm-hmm. And then once you're in the college, one of the first missions they do is they send you out to go talk to a count in one of the cities.
Mm-hmm.
And while you're out talking, waiting to meet him, one of his attendants says, "Oh, you must be from the Mages Guild. He won't see you here. You have to go to this other place. He'll meet you out there."
That sounds suspicious as fuck.
Yeah, as you should be suspicious. So as you go there and wait for nighttime, the guy that meets up with you is dun-da-da-da, a necromancer.
Was it the same necromancer that fled?
Nope. This is just the guy that met you at the Count's castle.
Is it Count the Count from Sesame Street?
I forget his name.
Does he count things?
No, but he is a vampire.
So it is Count the Count from Sesame Street. You don't know that he doesn't count stuff.
He's like, "All right, you fucking idiot. I know what you're doing here.
I know how to count and you don't.
I know how to count and you're stupid. Why would I meet you out here, you dumbass? I know what your fucking college is doing, and they're trying to keep an eye on me." Because he's like, "You didn't know I was a vampire either, you son of a bitch. I'm pissed. Get back and report." And then you go finally back and report. They're like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean to do anything. You were just supposed to meet up with him and just get some information and spy."
Yeah, this whole thing sounds suspicious.
Yeah. And then they're like, "Oh, you did such a good job. How about you go get your mage's staff now?" So you go and get your mage's staff. Where the mage's staffs are grown, filled with necromancers.
Of course.
Then you go back and you're like, "Damn, necromancers everywhere." And they're like, "Oh, you've done so much for us. Here's a promotion."
We've promoted you to necromancer.
So you're doing various things like that. And then one of the next major milestones is you eventually work your way up and you're working directly with the Council of Mages, which are the people that oversee the college.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start assigning you tasks. But after the first task you do for them, you get promoted and you report directly to the Archmage, which is the mage in charge of the Circle of Mages. And he goes, "Oh my gosh, thank goodness you're back. We just found out that this guy, this major necromancer guy, is coming back to haunt us. We need you to go investigate some more places."
Is this necromancer guy dead?
Kind of.
Well, you said he's coming back to haunt us. That usually means dead.
I don't think he died. I think he's just an opponent of the Mages Guild.
So why is he haunting them? That doesn't make any sense.
He's hunting them down.
Oh, hunting!
I think I did say haunting them, coming back to haunt them. He's haunting them by hunting them.
Okay.
And one of the first major things that happens is he destroys one of the chapters of the Mages Guild in a town. And then it's like, oh, okay, we need to take this seriously. And then two of the council members, it's a council of three, including the Archmage, they take some artifacts and then they go off to like try to use them to become more powerful. And so you go to track the two other council members down to get those items back. And one of them went to try to use the scepter and it went wrong, and then the whole area is filled with like demons and stuff. And the other one is just straight up a traitor, because they let you walk all the way in and be like, "Hey, I need that thing back," and like, "Oh, you stupid motherfucker, I tricked you, I'm a necromancer." And you're like, "Oh, one of the council mages is a necromancer," and then you kill everyone on your way back out.
As you should.
And then you come back and the archmage's like, "Oh my gosh, how could this happen? Go talk to this person to do research on necromancers."
Ooh. Let me guess. They're also a necromancer.
No.
It's like the game that you were saying where everything's a wyvern, but instead of everything's a wyvern, everything's a necromancer.
Everyone's a necromancer. You're a necromancer.
Your mom's a necromancer.
To be fair, I think my character should be counted as a necromancer, because I don't know what the difference between raising the dead and just summoning zombies, because my character is spec'd into conjuration, which is summoning things.
I feel like that counts as necromancy.
Yeah, I do too. And so you talk to this lady and she's like, "I need more specifics. Help me out here. I'm tired of you guys coming and say I need to research." And he was like, "How about you just research these black soul gems I found in this one guy's drawers?" She goes, finally, a direction.
Finally, underwear stones.
So she requests you go and get some dark soul gems or black soul gems.
Not just get some.
Well, they don't know how they're made.
You know, I was making a joke like,
Oh.
get some. She's requesting you go get laid.
Oh. Well, she is an Argonian maid.
But you are maidenless. Sorry, that's a different game. Anyways.
Yes. And so you go, oh yeah, I remember this one guy that tried to kill me. He was doing research on black soul gems. Let's go look at his notes. And she goes, oh, he requested this book. And they found like a note, and it's a couple locations. And you stake out those locations. And you go, oh, a necromancer just created some black soul gems here. And then you report back, and she goes, we have a hearing. Or news. We have news. The guy that tried to kill you with the heavy ring, we found him. Meet up with some other mages and go get him.
How often does this... To me, this just feels like really poorly planned assassination attempts of your character just being like, hey, go meet this strange, mysterious person that you don't really know much about in a dark alleyway at midnight when the cops are not on duty. Kind of like that's what it literally feels like. And it feels like he gets set up for it every fucking time. It's like, go meet this dark vampire in the woods. Go meet this person in a dark alley. Go into this person's private chambers and look through their underwear drawer. And like, it just...
I feel like you're only set up like once or twice. The rest of them, you're hunting them down, is my feeling. Because you're like, finally, I go get to get my mage's staff and be a full-fledged member. And these frickin' necromancers are in my way again.
Also, I didn't point it out, but you said something about how like the mage staffs are like grown.
Yeah, it's a special island that you have to go get your mage staff from.
To me, I am just picturing like a regular wizard staff kind of thing, but you're saying grown like a plant. And so to me, I'm like, is it just like asparagus? You know how asparagus doesn't look like, have you ever seen asparagus growing?
Yeah.
It looks like somebody just took asparagus and plopped it in the ground. And they were like, that's totally how it grows. That's what I'm imagining. It's this island of these like sticks basically that are growing out like that. You just like, you go through and you pick one and you're like, yeah. That's what I'm picturing. I know it's probably way cooler than that.
It's like a special grove and there's like a altar and you get it out of the altar.
No, I like my idea way better. I'm sorry.
It's an island of sticks and you just pick it up and it's a perfect staff.
Yeah. You're like, I like this stick. This is it's like when you go on a hike and you find a stick.
And the mage goes, this is the perfect stick.
Yes. That's what I'm picturing. And I think the creators of Oblivion really missed an opportunity there.
Maybe they did. But back to the other
storyline.
Back to the storyline. So you're going to go assassinate this guy, not the other way around.
Sure.
You're not the one getting caught. You're catching them.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Because if you do it correctly, you're waiting outside of these ancient ruins. And if you do it correctly, you can kill him before he escapes back into it. I killed him before he got back into it, but I went through the ruins anyway because it's fun. But that's besides the point. And on his body, you find a really big black soul gem. You're like, all right, well, I'll better go bring this to the Archmage. And he goes, I'll come up with some plans. I need you to go do something else for a while. And he sends you to go see the Count again. The Count's like, I have information for you. He goes, go and deal with the vampire hunters in my town. I cannot be seen dealing with them. Oh, and by the way, there's also vampires in this cave over there. So do something about both of those things, please and thank you.
He's a vampire. Why would
but he's like, they're encroaching on my territory, those bastards. And they're bringing attention. There's even vampire hunters in town. So you convince the vampire hunters, like, I know where the vampires are. And then they go there. And they die fighting the vampires. And then you go kill the rest of the vampires. And he's like, thanks. You should check out this cave. I think that's where you'll find your guy. And then you go back to the Archmage and he's like, I have news for you. This will be my last act as Archmage. You will go and kill the King of Worms, which is the big bad guy.
It's always a worm.
He has a real name, but I just remember his title. And so the Archmage kills himself to fill this giant black soul gem, so you are immune to his mind-altering magic. And so you go and do a big showdown and you fight him. You're like, I killed him. Yay. Then when you get back, they're like, oh, thank goodness you're back. That means you're successful. Congratulations on being the new Archmage, by the way. Da, 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 da. So that's one of the longer storylines.
I was going to say that you're like, I finished a storyline and then you just kept going. And I was like, oh, that wasn't the end of it? Oh, that wasn't the end? Oh, you killed a guy? That wasn't the end? Okay. I was like,
yeah.
Where is it going? And I'm not that I was like waiting for it to end, but I was also like, this is like a long story.
Mm-hmm.
It was longer than I was expecting it to be.
It's got political intrigue. It's got betrayal. It's got hunting. It's got all the fun stuff. Necromancers. Those bastards. Worms. Those fucking bastards. So the fun part about that was I made a spell specifically to kill mages or necromancers. What it does is it silences them so they can't cast magic. And then it gives them weakness to magic. And then it hurts them.
Wow. A triple threat.
That's right. That's why crafting spells is so fun.
Yeah, I know all about that. Well, we have some exciting news that we need to share before we get into the book, because I'm assuming I'm about to ask you, can we get into the book? And you're going to be like, yeah, let's get into the book.
I was going to try to do a transition. So tell me about these other spells. That was a bad transition. Let's try again.
Okay.
So tell me about this ritual spell.
But we're not getting into the book yet.
Yeah, fuck you.
We're getting into the exciting news. The exciting news is that, one, we have another country listening to us.
Heck yeah.
We've got Poland on our side now. Woo woo. Also, we have another Patreon donor, another member of Disco Court.
Oh my goodness.
It's Anna.
Oh, hi, Anna.
So Anna's actually a good friend of both of us. And I had told her about the podcast, I don't remember when. And she was like, oh, I'm totally going to start listening to that. And I was like, yeah, no big deal. It's whatever. Because like, I'm not trying to like force people to listen to this pod. I am very grateful for everyone who listens to the pod. And occasionally she'll like text me being like, oh, I really liked your, insight on this or whatever. I liked your episode on that and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I didn't realize she was like as hardcore of a listener as she is. And then, yeah, the other day I was at work and it was like really busy and I had a chance to finally look at my phone after a little while. And I got an email and I was like, what is this? A new Patreon? Oh my goodness. And so I was very excited. So Anna, welcome to the club. Welcome to Disco Court. It's a great time. So that's really exciting. And I thought that there was other exciting news, but now I can't remember what it is.
I don't know either.
Oh, I remembered what the other exciting news was.
What is the other exciting news?
It was relating to Anna becoming a Patreon because she had texted me around the same time that she had joined the Patreon, and she had said that she actually had to go out and buy the book Dreadful because she was like, oh, I couldn't wait to like know what happens next. So she might have finished the book. She might already know what's going on. But she said that she had to go out and buy the book and that she reads the characters in the voices that I do. Because she's like, you do them so well. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And she was like, you should offer to do an audiobook for them. And I'm like, well, there's already an audiobook. I personally am not a big fan of the audiobook, but like there is already an audiobook that people should go listen to if they want to. And she's like, no, but I like your voices better than the audiobook. So I was like, oh my God, Anna, you're so nice. So yeah, I always find it fun when we learn that a listener is like, yeah, I had to go out and buy the book because I liked what you guys were doing with the book. Because Bree did that with Here There Are Monsters. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear about anybody doing that with The Nightingale, but that's just because the people that we know have already read it. Now, Anna was like, yeah, I read Dreadful, or I had to go out and buy Dreadful. And Bree told me that she really wants to do that with Dreadful. She wants to go out and buy the book, but she was like, I hated it with Here There Are Monsters. She's like, I hated knowing what was coming before you did.
Then hearing us have a fun conversation about it, and she's like, no, that's not what happened.
Well, no, I mean, she actually found that she liked hearing our conversations from Here There Are Monsters because she missed a lot when she read it because she was listening to it while like multitasking and stuff like that. So she was like, I actually missed a lot of the book, so I didn't feel like I did the book justice. But she just was like, it was hard because you would be really excited about the book when we would talk, but I couldn't tell you that you were right or wrong. And it was just very frustrating to like sit there and like not. And it was the same thing with The Nightingale. She was like, I'm very frustrated right now because I want to tell you stuff, but I can't tell you things and stuff like that. And so she was like, I couldn't do that for this book. I couldn't go out and buy Dreadful because I can't finish it before you guys. She might go out and buy it later. But yeah, I just thought it was funny that Anna was like, no, I like your voices that you do for all the people. Which there's a lot of characters in here. I'm going to say this book has a lot of characters.
There are quite a lot, and I do enjoy it as well. And something just for me, sometimes she does hand movements.
Yeah, you guys don't get to see the hand movements. I don't think we're ever going to do a visual part of this podcast. Not even for the patrons. Sorry, Anna and Bree. Well, the other exciting news is just that we are getting further into this book. So we are about halfway through Dreadful by Caitlin Rozakis. The story follows Gav, a dark wizard who got mixed up in a plot with Zarkanar, Volevna, and Zaxis. At some point, Gav had wanted to learn more about this plan that Zarkanar hadn't been telling him, and he summoned a knowledge demon, only to be bamboozled out of his memories. Now he has a captive princess, sly servants, bumbling goblins, and a garlic festival to maintain, all while there are heroes coming in to kill him, and there's other dark wizards that are descending on the castle to perform this ritual. Last time we chatted, Gav had met an admirer of his, whom he convinced of the unfathomable power of garlic. He had a heart-to-heart with Orla in the gardens.
I don't know if it was strictly heart-to-heart.
It was mostly him whining and Orla being like, you're a little baby back bitch, okay? And he had welcomed Volevna, the first dark wizard, to arrive for this ritual. After Volevna arrived, Gav had taken her up to the battlements, and the two of them cautiously opened up to each other. She had confessed that she's nervous about this ritual, and she's open to a collaboration with Gav because, at the very least, the two of them agree on this idea of appearances versus, who a person actually is. She ended this conversation very abruptly by giving Gav a big ol' smooch and sauntering away, leaving Gav alone on the battlements with a raging boner. When he'd gathered himself enough to face the idea of other people again, he headed downstairs. He'd hoped to find that Sirocco had found Volevna and her retinue somewhere reasonable to sleep. Hopefully, she was settled in and burning off some of her energy with her toys. Unfortunately, he found her in his workshop instead, his now partially cleared workshop. "What are you doing?" he demanded, trying desperately to sound authoritative as he dodged Grrr Beetle trundling by with a trolley topped with a perilously stacked pile of glassware. Volevna stood in the center of the bustle, hands planted firmly on her hips, directing her boys and the half-dozen of the goblins she'd clearly commandeered. "No, darling, don't let those two piles of paper touch each other. They'll get much too friendly." "I just reorganized that," he snapped, grabbing a pile from the nearest smooth-skinned beauty and wedging it against his body. Rage gave him boldness. "Volevna, what the hell? What would you do if I marched into your workshop and started rearranging everything without so much as a please?" "You wouldn't have made it into my workshop alive, darling. Really, your wards are terrible," she said, directing some of the goblins to pick up the newly cleared table. "Put that down!" he snapped. The goblins put the table down. "I'm saving you from yourself," she purred. She swayed her way over, ending far too close to him for comfort. He took one deliberate, obvious step backwards. "What the hell are you talking about?" "We're going to need a working space," she said. "There's no way all four of us can fit in here with this much clutter. You have probably a few more hours before the other two get here, and you've done nothing at all to ready things. You should be on your knees thanking me. At least I'm just moving it. What do you think Zarkanar would have done with all of your precious research?" She left the "you idiot" part unspoken, but it was loud enough that Gav was pretty sure a tourist down in the village could hear it. The worst of it was, she was right.
I disagree. They could have done it in the courtyard. They don't need to be in his lair.
The worst of it was, she was right. He hadn't remembered that they needed a working space, of course, but he should have figured it out, just like he should have guessed that the other wizards would bring their own retinues, and like he should have prepared their rooms ahead of time. Behind again. He could bring up the garlic, and the heroes, and the festival, but he doubted she'd have much sympathy. "Fine," he said, rubbing his face with his free hand. "You're right. Thank you. You couldn't have waited for me?" She gave him an odd look. "I swear, it's like someone raises and lowers your intelligence. Are you sure you don't have multiple people in there? Happens sometimes when you steal life forces and don't clean the energy properly." He was pretty sure that wasn't the problem, and he had no intention of discussing it with her. "Now, whose fault is it that my intelligence got lowered?" She laughed, delighted. Fair, you're right. I should have waited. But I didn't think you'd recover quite that fast." "Then why did you do it in the first place?" he asked, exasperated. "Darling, it's in my nature."
I'm a hoe, and I love being a hoe. We just talked about this.
"What happened to all of that about appearances and deceiving?" He folded his arms. "So who's the real Volevna then?" "Who's the real anyone? When does who you're pretending to be stop being a pretense and turn into who you really are?" She shrugged, seemingly unconcerned. "Besides, I've never been particularly good with impulse control." She picked up a wriggling bag from the corner. He snatched it from her. He wasn't even sure how it had gotten free of the chest. The last thing he needed was for the visiting sorceress to be molested by a moat squid. She might even enjoy it, and he did not want to think think about that too hard. He gave up. All right, fine. Where are you putting it all then? Your bright little apprentice suggested your bedroom, she said, picking up another pile of papers Elisha had so carefully sorted and thumbing through it. His insides froze, but he forced himself to keep moving. I'll take those, thank you, he said, pulling the sheaf from her hands. So she introduced herself then? Oh, yes, she said, picking up the headless bird skeleton he'd otherwise pieced back together and extending one wing. Nicely articulated. Oh, no, handsome. This one. And only then that one. And don't let them touch, unless you want that lovely helm of yours blown clear to the next kingdom. Since the handsome in question was Throck, Gav couldn't tell who was more surprised, himself or the guard captain. But then, Throck's back straightened proudly, and he hefted up a cast iron apparatus Gav would have sworn would have taken at least 3 goblins to lift. Volevna trailed her fingers appreciatively over his tensed bicep as he passed. Gav had the uncomfortable thought that, should he be forced to choose, Throck might find his loyalty to Gav rather strained at the moment. Charming girl, Volevna purred. Ren, she said her name was? Gav struggled to keep up with her changes of topic. The bag twisted in his hands, lunging towards her. He wrestled it under control. The livery you chose does quite make the most of her legs. Perhaps that's your secret. Should I have worn breeches? The subject of their conversation, of course, chose that very moment to enter the room. She paused in the doorway, eyes wide and cheeks flushing. She may wear whatever she chooses, he said stiffly. He carefully did not look at Elisha. Not everyone chooses to deal with people's preconceptions the way you do, Volevna. You may want to consider it, pet, Volevna cooed. Elisha blushed harder. My way is a lot more fun. That's quite up to, Ren, Gav insisted again. He was torn between staying to keep Volevna from digging out even more of his secrets than he wanted her to know, and getting Elisha back to her cell, where she was supposed to be. In the end, it was clear which presented the more immediate danger. He grabbed Elisha's elbow and steered her out into the corridor. Ren, he hissed. So the two of them argue in the hallway for a bit. Elisha was like, I had to think of something to call your apprentice when she came in. And Gav was like, why were you even talking to Volevna in the first place? And she was like, it's not my fault that she came in and demanded to have everything moved. And Gav was like, what were you doing in there in the first place? You're supposed to be in your cell. And Elisha was like, as it happens, I was on my way to free the young wizard that's in the dungeons. The one with the lisp, the one that attacked Gerda Beetle and everything. Yeah, I figured with one of the 3 dark wizards that are going to be showing up here already here, I figured I would try to get the innocents out. And Gav was like, that's stupid.
He's not innocent.
He's not innocent, and he thinks that you're working for a dark wizard, so that's really fucking stupid. And she's like, yeah, well, that's my risk to take. And he's like, no, it's fucking not, because if you get yourself fucking blown to bits, then I have to explain that to Zarkanar, so it's my fucking risk to take too, you fucking bitch. And then she's like, And he's like, yeah, I can't disagree with that logic. Let's go get that kid out of the dungeon.
No, you idiot. You leave him there. Like, I've already caught one of the apprentices of blah, blah, blah for you, Zarkanar. Aren't I such a good wizard, Zarkanar?
Zarkanar already knows about this one. Remember, he said that
I kept him here for your entertainment, Zarkanar. I'm a groveling servant. Here you go, Zarkanar.
So, as the two of them make their way down to the dungeons, they actually get a little bit lost. Apparently, the small castle becomes somewhat of a labyrinth down there because the two of them make several wrong turns. They enter the wrong room on multiple occasions. And then when they were pretty sure that they found the correct room, they opened the door and they found that it was empty. Gav straightened himself up, ready to play the fearsome yet magnanimous overlord who was about to take mercy on a poor young adventurer. He heard Elisha's sniff of disdain, but ignored it. He flung open the door. The room was empty. It's the wrong room again, she groaned. How many are there? He'd had the same thought, but there really weren't any more alternatives. He stepped in. There were manacles hanging from the walls, and a small but efficient and lovingly stocked little array of torture equipment in the corner, but no sign of a prisoner. Not even an abandoned plate or a slop bucket. It was all too suspiciously clean to have been occupied for long or recently. My lord, came a terrified voice from the doorway. Gav whipped around. Sirocco had the blood drained from his face so thoroughly, Gav would have suspected vampires, if not for the huge stockpile of garlic a few feet away. Sirocco's eyes darted around the room, which was demonstrably short of one do-gooder wizard. I can explain. Elisha looked back and forth between them, a growing look of horror on her face. Sirocco, Gav said slowly, trying not to lose his
I'm going to make a
rising
guess
temper.
before you finish. I think he's bewitched him to be the garlic mascot.
Oh, I like that. That's great.
That tells me that wasn't what happened. Okay.
I think, unfortunately, I think I've already told you this, but not on air, so I'm going to tell you now. I think you're going to be very disappointed in what happens here.
Oh, okay.
Sirocco, Gav said slowly, trying not to lose his rising temper in front of Elyasha. Did you torture my prisoner to death? No. I mean, yes, babbled the steward. They just don't make heroes like they used to, master. But don't you mind. I'm sure another one will be right along. Sirocco caught the looks of distress and disgust on Elyasha's and Gav's respective faces and crumpled at Gav's feet. Please have mercy, the man begged, clutching the hem of Gav's robes. Like the mercy you failed to show that boy? Elyasha demanded, aghast. Wait, Gav told her.
He's lying.
He dropped to one knee. Sirocco, I am going to ask you one time, and I expect you to tell me the absolute truth, especially in this room, of all rooms. Sirocco spared a terrified glance for the wall of pincers in assorted sizes and bit shapes. He nodded frantically. What did you do with the wizard I told you to bring down here? Sirocco trembled on the floor. He whispered something. Louder, Sirocco. I let him go, he whispered, a little louder. Gav leaned back a little and considered. Was this the first time? He finally asked. Sirocco shook his head, miserably, still staring at the floor. Gav stood, pulling his robe from Sirocco's now slack fingers. He strolled over to the implements of torture, each lovingly polished. He ran a finger over the edges, dust-free, rust-free, wickedly sharp, as if they had been sharpened every single time after use. Or not? Sirocco, he asked, his voice carefully mild.
Have you never tortured anyone?
Have you ever actually tortured a prisoner? The poor man burst into tears. Gav rubbed his face. Ren, would you please run to the kitchen and, with my compliments, ask Orla for a nice mug of tea? Regular, normal, suitable for humans tea, not something poisonous or anything. Chamomile might be nice. He wandered back to the sobbing heap on the floor and patted his back ineffectually. There, he said. Pull yourself together. No one is getting turned into a toad or a pillar of ash or anything today. Elyasha reappeared with a steaming mug and handed it over with ill grace. She clearly had not changed her opinion much. Now, Gav said, helping his steward to sit up and wrapping his hands around the mug. Why don't you start at the beginning? You're not angry? You're not going to... His eyes darted to the wall of implements. I've had something of a change of heart in the last few weeks, Gav said carefully, and I'm finding myself somewhat relieved to discover that perhaps not all of my ill deeds are as terrible as I'd thought at the time. Sirocco stared into the mug for answers. He took a long pull, and Gav wondered if he should have asked for brandy instead. I really did go to the Bardic College, Sirocco finally said. I was one of the most promising young players of my generation, they said. Not quite promising enough, though. There was one other, Simon. Gav groaned. Long story short, you poisoned Simon to get that part and ended up in a life of villainy. What? No! Simon and I were inseparable, Sirocco said, shocked. I'd never have done anything to him. I mean, look at me. No one is ever going to buy me as a dashing hero. Simon was all gold hair and cleft chin. He took all the hero roles. No, I wanted to be the greatest villain actor of all time. All right, now I'm lost, Gav confessed.
Method acting.
I needed to really get inside the role. Sirocco shook the mug at him, slopping cooling tea. I needed to understand how you people think. So I went looking for the perfect dreadlord. Someone evil and slimy, but, well, not so evil and slimy that they would kill me when I showed up on the doorstep looking for a job. And I stumbled onto this place. This would be 3 dreadlords before your lordship. I was hired on as a valet. I meant it to just be long enough to really get the gestures down. But the withered one turned out not to be fond of staff leaving, so I just stayed in character. And I was so good at it! Every day, acting literally for my life. It was the greatest acting of my career. I had to inhabit the role like nothing else I'd ever done. And so I rose up the ranks, acting all the while. But the withered one was displaced by Niag the Half-Eyed, Elyasha objected. Couldn't you leave then? Well, yes, Sirocco shrugged. And I thought about it, but there was a girl. Her mouth quirked. No, there was no girl, he said primly. Gav thought about Simon. There was a boy, he guessed. Sirocco deflated a little. Yes, down in the village. But you're not actually evil, Gav said. You're just playing at it. So you keep trying to rescue people? When I can, Sirocco admitted, shrinking a little. He clearly didn't trust Gav's stated mercy. Like who? Gav asked. Well, Sirocco said with obvious reluctance. There was that valet, for example. The one You were, rather drunk, my lord, Sirocco said, looking everywhere but Gav. And you set fire to the dressmaker's dummy he was pinning your robes on. And you helped the poor lad escape when you cleaned up the mess. Quite right, Sirocco said, looking relieved that Gav was taking this so well. Gav closed his eyes. Was there any chance? A while back, there was a young lady. One I, favored? Sirocco's eyes grew larger. He looked around for an escape. You know what happened, Gav said, trying not to sound too pathetically hopeful. Eliash's eyes narrowed as she came to the inevitable conclusion. You would not mind if... Sirocco asked cautiously. If it turned out that she had survived the incident, yes, I would not mind, Gav confirmed, swallowing. He did not meet Eliash's eyes. Sirocco blew out a breath. It was a near thing, that one, he admitted. We managed to put her out as soon as your back was turned. And the village folk, they're rather handy, have the most amazing stocks of cantrips and such, managed to get her stable enough to smuggle her out to the real healing wizard. She was doing fine last I heard, no real scars even. She's a merchant or some such. I think she ran as far as her legs would take her as soon as the burns had healed. Gav let out a breath he hadn't even realized he was holding. Sirocco perked up a little, now that he knew his mercurial lord was pleased. All right, Gav said, gathering his thoughts. Bringing you up to date, I'd rather prefer to turn over a new leaf. Only Zarkanar, Sirocco said. I don't suppose we could call off the visit, as fascinating as it would be to see that level of evil up close. I mean, the things he does with his voice are amazing. I don't mind saying, I did avoid his caliber for a reason. One cannot act easily if one no longer possesses a face. Unfortunately not, Gav sighed. No, we have 3 wizards and their retinues we somehow need to host. Wren here has some experience in castle management herself. If the 2 of you could collaborate in finding some places to store all our guests and keep them out of the village as much as possible, I would be most grateful. Sirocco nodded furiously, relieved to have a task he could perform. All right, out you go, Gav said. And keep that act up. Lay it on as thick as you dare. Sirocco bounced to his feet, an entirely different man, and then he shook his shoulders. He slouched back into the steward's signature slink and oozed out the door. Did you hear that? Gav said excitedly as soon as the door closed. I didn't kill them! Eliasha crossed her arms, unimpressed. You didn't kill those 2. Just terrified one and tortured the other. Who knows how many murders you succeeded at? And those 2 were not for lack of trying. Whether or not they actually died, you meant to kill them. You were just incompetent. The familiar rage reddened his vision, and he fought it down. She was right, of course, although she didn't have to be so blunt, he thought bitterly.
He was like, I was just excited. I wasn't
as bad as I thought. I didn't kill the girl that had rejected me, and I didn't kill the valet for whatever.
Done the thing.
You know, like, I was excited about that. And she's like, yeah, that's all great and all, but, like, you tried to kill them. Like, that doesn't make it any better. Like, it's attempted murder is just as bad as murder.
But yeah, I didn't, though.
But not because you didn't try. It's not.
It's not a weight on my conscience. I didn't actually kill anyone. Except maybe the previous lord of this place. But they're bad guys, so does that count?
Although she didn't have to be so blunt about it, he thought bitterly. If you want to be different from Gavrax, you can't keep making excuses for him, she continued implacably. Fine, he said. Just help Sirocco and Orla pull something together so that we don't all embarrass ourselves. And for the love of whatever you hold holy, stay as much out of the way of the other wizards as you can. Afraid they'll figure things out, she said, just short of taunting. Yes, he said. And believe me, if they do, you'll wish they'd only turned you into a chicken. So I figured you'd find this scene somewhat disappointing because it's like, I think I get where Caitlin Rizakis is coming from of it is really hard to make someone genuinely evil yet redeemable. But it's frustrating that literally nobody in this book so far actually seems to be evil. Volevna is... She so far hasn't done anything necessarily evil. She just like gives into what people think about her and stuff like that. And she's like, if they're going to see a whore, I'm going to be a whore kind of thing. And it's fun being a whore. But being a whore isn't the same thing as being evil.
Yeah.
And Gav isn't evil, although he seemed like he used to be, and none of the goblins are actually that evil. They're really cute and whatever. And then now Sirocco, the only one who truly seemed to be anything close to evil, is now like, I was acting the whole fucking time. I've been trying to save people.
Yeah, in my opinion, this setting doesn't make sense to have pure evil. We'll find out if Zarkanar is implicitly evil. They're kind of trying to push it that way. Like eating people's memories.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, Zarkanar does seem to be truly evil, but watch this whole ritual be something like a birthday party or something. Like, and like the demon that they're summoning is like the demon of rainbows or some shit. Like, I really wanted to explore what it means to be evil, but maybe that question is too heavy for such a light and fluffy story.
I was gonna say, I think they can't go too heavy in this, unfortunately, just because of the nature of it. It's a fun book,
right? I was just hoping that somebody would be actually evil and stuff like that. Like, I think it would have been really, really funny if Sirocco was still evil, but was like, I can sing, my lord, and stuff. And because then you could have that conversation of like, does he have any redeeming qualities? And it's like, oh, now nothing Sirocco has done is evil. It's just appeared to be evil. He's acting and stuff like that. And so I'm like, I kind of would love to have it as if he was actually evil and stuff like that. I don't know.
But I think this plays more into the author's message for this about appearances.
Yeah.
A little less fun, but more on the nose of their message.
Less fun for us, I'll say. Not less fun for the story. I think the story is... I had kind of a delighted moment when I was like, oh my god, Sirocco's faking. I was like, that's kind of funny. But then, yeah, there was a part of me that's like, man, that is also a little disappointing. Anyway, so Gav returns to his workshop to make sure that Volevna doesn't get up to whatever kind of shenanigans she's going to get up to. And Sirocco and Elyasha dutifully help to make preparations for the other dark wizards that are going to be arriving. They take Gav's bed out of Gav's room and put it in the throne room and say that's for Zarkanar because he's going to love that ego boost and stuff like that. And they find places for everybody to go. And Orla's busy making a feast for the arrival. And then the garlic festival needs to start kicking off and all that kind of stuff. So everything seems to be going well, or at least as well as it could be under the circumstances, until it isn't. By the following afternoon, while they were not ready, they were as ready as they were going to be. Outside the castle walls, he could hear the nearly rhythmic thumping of a band composed of wandering bards who had clearly never performed together before. Sirocco had taken the opportunity of the lull to slip in and sing with them. Wren had reported that he was, at least from the castle wall, really quite good. Better than the bards, certainly. The festival was in full swing. The castle smelled of herbs and hay, and the smell of a feast being prepared had almost started to overpower the wafts of garlic from the village. Gav took a breath and allowed himself to pretend for one moment that maybe everything would be all right. The unearthly scream from the sky above the castle broke that quite effectively. Very abruptly, everything was still. The music cut off. The dull roar of voices stopped. The scream shattered the air once more. Gav was already moving toward the gate. He could hear, in the distance, people screaming, whether it was the, "Oh, heavens, what was that noise?" panic, or the, "There's a monster here eating us! The pain! Mercy! Sweet gods, the pain!" panic. He couldn't quite tell. At the third cry, he dropped any pretense at dignity, gathered his robes above his knees, and flat out ran. By the time he had made it to the drawbridge, he could make out the source of the noise. Not that he could identify it. It flew on enormous ragged wings, webbed like a bat, with a sparking phoenix tail trailing behind.
It's the other wizard, not Zarkanar yet.
Two heads bobbed with effort. Occasionally one would snap at the other, causing the other to complain with that distinctive, ear-shredding cry. Gav had difficulty determining the size of the creature beating its way through the clouds without anything next to it to provide a reference. When it came close enough for him to make out the two tiny human figures, each straddling the base of a respective neck, he swallowed hard. He hoped rather desperately that they did not attempt to put down in the middle of the square. He wasn't all that confident that monster would fit. He answered no questions as he crossed through the town itself to the opposite side. Far more people than he felt comfortable with followed him. He was relieved, however, to see that both Volevna and Sirocco had made it. The monster circled the town and castle one full time. He waved with more jauntiness than he felt. For a moment, his heart nearly stopped when he thought it might consider the tower itself as a perch, but it continued back around. It finally came in for a landing on the far side of the village, the backdraft from its wings forcing everyone to clutch tightly at hats and robes. Scaly claws dug into the freshly harvested field, and then the creature collapsed, wings flopping down, outspread, chest plowing into the ground, followed by one head, and then the other. The first head raised back up a few feet, mewled pitifully, and then crashed back down, the great eyes glazing over. Well, I suppose the two heads were too much of a strain for its heart after all, Zaxxas called down cheerfully. But what do you think of the overall design? If Gav had had any hopes of spiriting Zaxxas and his companion up to the castle without incident, those hopes were quickly dashed. A harvest fair? Delightful! Zaxxas beamed delightedly at the tourists who stared at him without even trying to hide. We've got your rooms all set up at the castle. Gav tried desperately to interject. Oh yes, and you've arranged a marvelous bit of local color for us as well. Zaxxas reached out and simply ran his hand through the red hair of the girl at the fried garlic stand. Speaking of color, how on earth did you manage such a shade? Tiger skin transplant? Fennec fox? No, that's more of a sandy color. And at such length, too. Gav gently disentangled the girl, who had frozen like a rabbit under the gaze of a hawk. I think that's actually her original hair color. Really? Zaxxas looked delighted. I'll have to take some of them back with me. The girl was starting to look panicked. Gav was starting to feel a bit panicked, too. I'm afraid I really must insist that they all stay here. Although, did you know that the local foxes are about the same color? Much easier to transport, too. Oh, that would do just as good. Zaxxas looked pleased, to Gav's relief. The older wizard wandered down the row, stopping to try the pickled garlic peppers. His companion had still not spoken a word. Gav wasn't entirely sure if she even spoke the same language. She was lovely, in a way, and at some point might have started as human. Zaxxas had not seen fit to introduce her. Oh, how charming, Volevna purred. A kissing booth. Gav bit his tongue to keep from groaning. She had yet another new outfit from her endless supply. This one in black and silver, with silver hair to match. Her bodice was laced like a corset, but the material didn't actually meet at any point in the front or back.
Impressive.
There was a good 2 inches of skin showing all the way down to the gauzy skirt that hung off her hips in separate, unconnected panels. The men in the square stared slack-jawed as she sauntered her way over to the perch on the edge of the booth, crossing one long leg over the other, skirt streaming down, unhindered by anything resembling modesty. Zaxxas was earnestly explaining to the increasingly horrified dairymaid how splicing the garlic so it would grow out of the cow's udder would skip the tiresome steps of the garlic cheese-making process. Zaxxas's companion opened her mouth. Her tongue flicked out, and out, and out. It was at least 6 inches long, pink traced with green. It licked one of her eyeballs, caressing it from one corner to the other, leaving it shining with saliva, and then curled back into her mouth.
I just want to pause right there. Mm-hmm. For a moment during that sentence, I thought she was licking the milkmaid's eye.
Oh my god, can you imagine Zaxxas is there being like, you could like splice the udder and garlic together and then you would just have garlic milk coming out and then you could make the garlic cheese and it would be so great. And like in the middle of that, just like this weird humanoid thing like licking
your eye.
Your eye. Oh, that's so funny. How much would you trade me for a kiss? Volevna said, leaning forward and stroking up the nervously bobbing larynx of a young man whose clothes placed him as coming from somewhere rather farther away and richer than the local village. A finger? A memory? A child? Your soul? Gav couldn't be everywhere at once, and he didn't know what to do anywhere. The villagers looked at each other nervously, but none had broken rank and run screaming.
They probably think this is awesome.
It was surely no worse than what they'd endured under Gavrax. No one was on fire, yet.
As far as he knew.
The tourists were eating it up. Here was what they'd been promised. Danger! Voluptuous danger! Weird, eye-licking yet still shapely danger! From her perch on the dunk tank stool, Mayor Terwin gave him an expressionless nod that seemed likely to be the closest thing to approval she would ever give him. He'd done well. Unfortunately, Zaxxas turned to see where Gav was looking. And how does this work? Do we see how long she can stay under? He scooped his right hand as if to pick something up, while his other hand fumbled in his belt pouch and emerged with a seed pod of some kind, which he crushed as his right hand mimed tossing something at the dunk tank. Gav saw nothing fly through the air, but the trigger panel slammed back, and Terwin plummeted into the water. There was no splash. The water surface closed over her and flattened like glass. The wind had picked up at some point, but there wasn't even a hint of a ripple. He waited for a moment, but she didn't come bursting up. He couldn't rush. He couldn't, not without giving away the fact that she meant something to him. And that was as good as waving a chunk of bloody meat before predators. No wonder Gavrax pushed everyone away. Anyone who meant something to you was a weakness. Zaxxas had strolled over to observe, and Gav joined him as quickly as he dared. Beneath the surface, Terwin pushed desperately upwards, her eyes wide and her steel-gray braids floating freely around her face. Her hands slammed soundlessly against the barrier of unmoving water an inch or so thick. Tiny bubbles escaped from her nose to skitter around, the water below churning in her frantic attempts to escape. She couldn't have expected the sudden fall. Had she even taken a breath? Her eyes caught his. She was mouthing something. "Please, let her go, please," he said as mildly as he could. "I want to see how long it takes for her gills to deploy," Zaxxas said, sounding more like a spoiled child than a grown man with white in his hair. "She doesn't have any gills," he explained, trying not to feel defensive. Should he have given her gills? Is that what conscientious mad wizards did for their favorite villagers? No gills? Then why put her in a water tank to begin with? Zaxxas looked genuinely confused. "Zaxxas," he rapped on the hardened water with a knuckle. "Let her out, please." "Oh, fine," Zaxxas said, disgruntled at having his fun spoiled. He waved a hand, and suddenly the water's surface turned choppy. Terwin's hand flailed out, suddenly lacking resistance, and the top of her head pitched forward before she managed to correct and get her face out of the water. She clung to the side of the tank, gasping in great, heaving breaths. "No hair, no gills. Why even bother having a village?" Zaxxas grumbled. Gav was saved from replying by a terrifying roll of thunder. Every head snapped up to the sky. The fluffy clouds had thickened while they had been distracted, darkening. Now the wind that had been gradually rising started to swirl around the edges of the square as the sky turned to a roiling black, shot through with crackling lightning. "Always the dramatics," said Volevna. The sudden brightness of the lightning bolt blinded Gav. A sound like the very air being ripped in twain followed immediately, leaving him clutching his head with his chin to his chest. When he tentatively managed to raise his head, he saw exactly what he'd feared in the center of the square. The blast marks radiated outwards, the few unfortunate souls nearest the center charred beyond recognition. Unharmed, standing tall in the very middle of the devastation, stood a man in a swirling cape, his skin the color of ink and dried blood. Zarkanar had arrived. And while I've read further, I think that's probably the best spot to stop for
I would
today.
have to agree. That's a very good stopping point.
Interesting. Things are starting to happen, kind of.
Mm-hmm. And people died.
Yes.
Several.
Yes.
It wasn't even like an afterthought. There was no thought.
Mm-mm.
No fanfare.
No.
There was fanfare for a little bit about someone almost dying, and then just 4 people died.
Yep. And I'm afraid it's probably not going to be the last.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But interesting. I am very curious to see how the wizards interact with each other because they all seem like very solitary people. So working together as a group might be an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I'd have to say.
Any other thoughts?
No, I already touched on how one of the primary messages of this book is appearances aren't necessarily what's true, and there's more good in people than you think.
I also think there's more bad in people than what people think. I really like that conversation that Gav had with Orla last time where, you know, she was saying like people like the hero because he wears white and he's pretty and whatever. People hate the dark wizard because he's ugly and he wears black. Like, what does that actually mean and stuff like that? And I do think that's an important distinction of like, it's not just about what people are deciding is evil. It's what people are deciding is good. And I think that's kind of an interesting choice too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had 2 points. One, to talk about what you just said, that even the good wizards are just giving children dangerous tools. And second, I think the other dark wizard, Zaxxas, is going to be more of a impulses type. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like his danger comes from his impulse control or lack thereof.
Yeah, like his dangerousness, and the overall message is you need to be aware of like what you're thinking and like the outcomes can be.
Right. And I do think that's also kind of what Volevna is too, because she's even mentioned, she's like, I've never been good at impulse control kind of thing, because it just depends on what the impulse is, you know, like hers tends to be a very like sexualizing kind of impulse, but you know, Zaxxas is the curiosity of like, I wonder what happens if I do this, but like he's not even doing like real science then, like if we're gonna think about him like a mad scientist, he's like what's going to happen here and stuff like that, and not thinking about logically, you put somebody underwater, they're going to drown, like, you know, like he doesn't make that kind of a prediction. So like you said, yeah, kind of like very impulsive, and I can see why people would think that he's evil then. I don't think he even thinks of himself as evil, Zaxxas.
Probably not.
I think he's like, oh, we're just here having a great time. We're doing experiments. We're doing research and stuff like that. But like,
I'm giving people all these things. And like even the whatever creature he flew in on, it died. And he was like, I guess
the heart couldn't support it.
Couldn't do it. Oh, well.
Which is really sad. But I don't think that, like, to me, I feel like evilness does have to have some kind of intent behind it. And I don't think he has intent. I think he is just very thoughtless. And that is, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying I wouldn't necessarily classify him as evil.
Yeah. I think the message is the dangers of power that can be held over others when they're not even a second thought.
Yeah, for the people who have that power. Yeah, I agree. I'm nervous about where this is going, but I am curious more and more how this is going to be solved. I think it's going to end with everybody having a great time. You know what would be great is if Zarkanar took a turn at the dunk tank or some shit like that.
Yeah.
That'd be fucking hilarious. I don't know if that's actually going to happen or not, but I also know that there was that moment in his workshop when Valevna's like moving stuff and she picked up the wriggling bag and he knew right away that was the squid, and he's like, how did that even get out of the chest? What the fuck? And then he had like taken it from her. I didn't read this part, but there was a moment when he was like, I'm going to put it somewhere and I'll have to remember to move it before the ritual.
Oh, are you predicting that squid is going to be the linchpin?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that squid is going to do something to fuck up the ritual.
Yeah, something's going to happen with the squid.
Because why? I mean, as funny as it was when it was first introduced, I'm like, why introduce the squid?
Why have it back again?
Yeah, because like they keep referencing it, but they don't reference that he still has marks on his face, which is kind of disappointing. That would be really fucking fun if he still had them. But yeah, I don't know. I think that because he put it behind his mirror and he was like, I'll have to remember to move that before the ritual. And I'm like, you're not going to remember to move that.
Yeah.
It's still going to be in the room when the ritual happens. And so something weird. And the fact that the squid is so strangle happy, I am wondering if it's like, I keep thinking about Artharno, that good wizard that supplied Fiari and the like boy wizard with like some tools and stuff like that. I have a sneaking suspicion that Artharno is the squid. And I also have a sneaking suspicion that Artharno is the woman that Gav had tried to
maybe
and whatever, or something like that, because like I'm wondering if like it comes back to like because like I'm like, why does Artharno have it out for Gav? Like specific, like
I don't think they have it out for Gav. I think they have it out for Zarkanar.
I think she has it out for Gav.
No, I don't think that. I think that's
because like
a little bit of a stretch.
I don't know if Artharno is aware of Zarkanar's plan though. All Artharno knows is that Eliasha has been kidnapped and King Barabano has put out like a bounty for her return and for Gav's head kind of thing. So I'm like, I wonder if she's not like a scorned lover or something like that, if she, for whatever reason, still has it just out for Gav in one way or another.
Interesting.
And I mean, maybe she has something against Zarkanar and wants to stop Zarkanar's plan, but I've always assumed that the heroes that she's been sending are specifically to either get the princess back or to get at Gav or both.
Yeah. I like where this is heading because we now have a warrior princess, a bardic rogue type character, and a wizard. So we have pretty much the holy trinity of classes, essentially, or roles that we can have. So I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, me too. So did we learn anything today?
2 heads is too many for 1 heart.
Okay.
You can take that as you will.
I like it. Very deep. Very deep. All right.
I also learned that sometimes you can be in too deep with your acting role. Method acting can only get you so far.
Well, I learned that there are too many necromancers.
Too many damn necromancers.
And that mages throw their staffs like asparagus. Those are the things that I learned. All right. Where can people find us?
People can find us on Facebook.
At A Pot of Sass and Sarcasm.
You can follow us on Instagram.
At A Pot of Sass.
They could send us an email.
At apotofsass@gmail.com.
You can donate to our Patreon.
Patreon.com/A Pot of Sass and Sarcasm, where you can join Disco Court or Yacht Club Court, or I don't know, I should remember what the other ones that we had.
I didn't know we had a yacht court.
We had Yacht Club Court. That's the summer court.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Do we still have a website? Or do you want to talk about the website or share the website or no?
I just looked at it the other day and it says that it's been more than 14 days. So the website that I made is no more because I didn't buy anything and I didn't do anything with it and I didn't publish it.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I mean, here's the thing. I still do want to have a website. I just need to go through the process of making it again.
Okay. It looks so good.
Yeah, well, when I have time. But do keep your eyes peeled for a website that will be coming eventually. We'll let you know when it's here. And you can listen to new episodes on Saturdays, hopefully,
I was going to say, you can check out new episodes on most Saturdays.
wherever you find podcasts. And don't forget to rate, review, and share. It really, really, really helps us out. I promise we're trying to get back on our bullshit. We are trying to get on a regular schedule, at least recording and releasing weekly. It's that time of year where things get rough. But I promise that we're going to try to get better at this. So we really appreciate you sticking around through these weird breaks we sometimes take. And we appreciate you coming back for more. Anyways, sorry, we've been rambling. Thank you guys so much for listening.
We hope you keep listening.
And we hope you stay sassy.
Later.